r/Askreddit. Serious, when you're lying in bed at night, do you ever randomly remember some embarrassing stuff you said and beat yourself up over it? If so, what happened? I married into an Italian and Greek family. Very affectionate, does the cheek kiss thing upon greeting and departing, the whole caboodle. I came from a no-touch home. We didn't kiss, hug, shoulder pat or touch each other in any way, shape or form, so it took me a good amount of time to get used to this type of behavior. There was a point in the summer when I was still new to the family that my Phil went in to kiss my cheek and I turned to kiss his and we accidentally brushed lips. We immediately drew back from each other and he poked fun at me for not turning the right way, only for me to die a little inside. No one else was there to witness the destruction of my soul. But I will never forget that for as long as I live. Ahaha, that's hilarious. I'm from an Italian family like that and married into the opposite, So yeah, for my cringe I was the weird one kissing people on the cheek for a while. I had to learn the hard way that my father-in-law is not a hugger of any kind. The first Christmas we shared, I came in and hugged everyone. His was the most awkward hug I've ever encountered in my life. When I was 11 I did a poop at school and it clogged the toilet. Someone thought it was bark from the playground and told the teacher. After lunchtime the teachers set up a meeting with the classes they were allowed to use the toilet and told us that whoever put the bark in the toilet had to own up or our camp would be cancelled. I was way too embarrassed to confess in front of the class and I felt horrible. I think one guy ended up confessing to get the class out of trouble. Actual legend. I decided I would tell the teacher after school, but then the cleaner came in and whispered something to the teacher in charge and the teacher told the class it was a big understanding. I wanted to die. I think I'm over it now, but that haunted me for a long time. Sounds like the best possible ending. You didn't have to embarrass yourself. The kid who didn't do it turned legend status, and no disciplinary action was taken. Disciplinary action because someone took a poop. How ridiculous would that be? Trick-or-treating with my little brother as kids. This woman several houses down is standing on her porch looking directly at me and hollers, "Hey, do you want to trick-or-treat with us?" My brother is across the street, so I holler uncomfortably loud, "Hey, you want to trick-or-treat with them?" I turn back to the woman and she goes, "Oh ... actually I was talking to those people," and points behind me to different kids. I died that day and my corpse has walked the world for 17 years since. I had a mate in high school whose dad had recently passed away from cancer. A group of us were hanging out at lunch break and somehow we got onto the topic of Finding Nemo. I don't know why, but I blurted out, "Imagine if Nemo's dad was dead." The room just went silent and then I made it worse by immediately going sorry, possibly the cringest moment of my life. I still have no idea why I said it. I had a similar situation back in middle school. A friend of mine had recently lost his father, to which I was unaware. During class, we were Googling our families but my friend was hesitant. Our group of friends pressured him to Google his family, to which he told us his dad died. I have never felt as bad in life as I did that day. I wouldn't feel too bad about it. You didn't know his dad was dead. There's a woman I go to school with. We have mutual friends and I find her physically attractive, but despite that my feelings toward her are a mixed bag, for lack of a better term. During freshman year, I was leaving a room one day and almost walked right by her. When I noticed it was her, my brain and heart panicked simultaneously. After duking it out, the two came to the conclusion that the perfect response to this dilemma was to start laughing maniacally. She stopped, turned around, and stared at me. Other people who left surrounding rooms stopped to stare at me. I was so mortified, but I couldn't stop. I'm pretty sure I was still laughing as I made my escape. Not my proudest moment. Yes, and it's almost always the same situation. The first time a girl got me off I said, "Oh man, now I have to change the sheets." She laughed so hard I thought I was going to die. Honestly, this just sounds like fun. It would have been embarrassing if she was hurt or offended by your comment. Well, she did have fun. I was just embarrassed. Not something I said but something I did. About 10 years ago when I was dating my ex-boyfriend, we took his dog out for a walk. When we got to the park, he said that he was going to let him run around a bit, but that the dog can be naughty sometimes and try to run away, so it may be difficult to get him back. Instead of removing the lead, he just dropped it on the ground and let the pup run around with it still attached. Shortly after that, my ex got a phone call, was a bit distracted, and the dog was running around like mad. I called for him to come back and he didn't really listen, so as he went to run past me, I panicked and slammed my foot down on the lead. He flung backwards and I basically choked the poor little guy. I will never forget the look on my ex's face at the time. Still haunts me 10 years later. Former professional dog trainer here. A dog's strongest muscle is their jaw, but the second strongest is their neck. Second, it's a fairly common practice with dogs that aren't trained to let them run to the end of their lead while you head in another direction. This is to teach the dog that they are supposed to pay attention to you. All of this is to say you didn't hurt or traumatize the dog. Just your ex and yourself. Smiley face. Okay, so I remember volunteering in an elderly home around 1 or 2 years ago for school, and most of them spoke Chinese. Now my Chinese is absolute trash. I'm barely able to give a short introduction without messing up somewhere. So with my trashy luck, I was chosen to read out the numbers, with someone helping to read them in Tamil, Malay, etc. So after a few numbers called, someone finally wins. Now I didn't know what to do, so I decided to try to say give him a round of applause in Chinese. So with my little knowledge in the Chinese language, I ended up saying dot, which means give him one slap in Chinese, winky face. Immediately everyone started laughing and it took me a few seconds for my mind to process what I had said. I started apologizing profusely, was almost gonna die of embarrassment. Of course, all the elderly decided to joke about my mishap for the entirety of the game. Never gonna volunteer for this type of stuff ever again. Don't feel bad about that. Most elderly homes don't get much entertainment, so you probably really brightened their day. I've shared this story before, but I still cringe when I think about my first solo date back in high school. I had a huge crush on this girl, thought she was really cool and I loved her art, so I couldn't believe she said yes. We went to the zoo because it was free and we were just broke teenagers and we had a blast. Afterwards we went to grab some food at this place before having to split off to go home. Our trains were heading in the opposite directions and the entrances were across the street from each other, so I walked with her to her side to say goodbye. I closed my eyes and awkwardly leaned in to give her a kiss goodbye, and she went in more for a hug. I ended up headbutting her in the face and her nose started bleeding. I was so embarrassed and didn't know what to say, so I just asked, "Are you okay?" She replied, "I think so." Still not knowing what to do, I just said, "Okay, bye," and then ran across the street to catch my train. It was so painfully awkward and embarrassing, I avoided her for weeks after that. That's rough. Is there a quote-unquote after that? Not really. I probably should have just tried to get over it and asked for a second date, but it was a lot harder for me as a teenager. 14 years ago in high school, I was walking past a female friend of mine. I was going to the guy's bathroom and she was leaving the girl's bathroom, so there wasn't anyone around. We exchanged pleasantries and I put my hand up for a high five. She made some comment making fun of me but participated in the high five, and I went to give her a pat on the back, misjudged completely and hit her butt on accident, but it didn't register until I was in the bathroom. She never said anything. I still cringe. Giggled while a friend was presenting sometime during middle school. This friend had a slight stutter and I lacked the maturity to control myself sadly. The teacher was sitting in at an empty desk directly across from me and was completely horrified, warned it, and yelled some phrase along the lines of "How dare you?" Kept me awake at night throughout middle school and high school. I still feel awful. My friend and I became much closer in high school, so luckily he didn't hate me for it. And he overcame his stutter by actively participating in classes and activities like mock trial and debate. He's a great guy. That's easy. It's my fist bump story. Still makes me cringe to this day. It was a cringe moment. The power meter reader came to the door to tell me the meter was going to be changed out. He told me what was going on, and at the end of the conversation, for some reason I thought it would be a good idea to shake his hand goodbye. I think this stunned him as he did not reciprocate. So I pulled back. But then I think he got too late and he extended his hand, but I didn't because I still felt stupid from the first time, so he started pulling back. And then at the exact same moment we both went in and performed a perfect fist bump. He then turned around and left. This all happened in about 3 seconds. But it felt like 3 minutes. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to Binge at Reddit for more Reddit content. If you have any constructive criticism on how I can improve my videos, please let me know. Otherwise, have a nice day and binge beautifully.